You're at the grocery store. Your 3-year-old wants the candy. You say no, and then it starts. The whine becomes a cry. The cry becomes a scream. Their body goes rigid. They're on the floor now, kicking, wailing, completely inconsolable. And you do what every parenting book told you to do. You get down on their level. You speak softly. You validate their feelings. I know you're upset. I understand you want the candy. It's okay to feel frustrated. But here's what's actually happening. They're crying harder, louder. The tantrum is escalating, not de-escalating. Other shoppers are staring. You're sweating, and you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything the experts say, and it's making things worse. Let me tell you something that will change everything. You're not doing it wrong. The advice you were given is incomplete. Because there's a critical piece of information about how tantrums work that almost no one is teaching parents. And once you understand it, you'll be able to stop a tantrum in 60 seconds or less. Not by ignoring your child, not by giving in, but by understanding what their nervous system actually needs in that moment, and it's not what you think. Here's what we've all been told. When your child has a tantrum, validate their emotions. Use empathy. Get on their level. Mirror their feelings. Show them you understand. This sounds perfect, compassionate, attachment-focused. All the things good parents should do. And for some emotional moments, it works beautifully. But during a full-blown tantrum, it often backfires spectacularly. You've experienced this. The more you try to comfort them, the more they scream. The more you validate, the more they spiral. Your gentle voice seems to pour gasoline on the fire instead of water. Why? Because you're operating on a fundamental misunderstanding about what a tantrum actually is. Here's what most parenting advice gets wrong. It treats tantrums as purely emotional events that need emotional solutions. Validate the feeling and the tantrum will pass. But neuroscience reveals something different. A tantrum is not just an emotional event. It's a neurological event. It's a nervous system hijacking. Dr. Daniel Siegel, neuropsychiatrist and author of The Whole Brain Child, explains that during a tantrum, your child's brain has essentially gone offline. The prefrontal cortex, the thinking, reasoning, language processing part of the brain, has shut down completely. What's running the show? The amygdala, the primitive, survival-oriented part of the brain that only knows fight, flight, or freeze. When your child is in full tantrum mode, they are literally incapable of processing your words, your empathy, your validation. None of it is getting through because the parts of their brain that would receive and understand that information are not functioning. In fact, your soothing words are doing something unexpected. They're adding more stimulation to an already overwhelmed nervous system. Think about it like this. Your child's nervous system is like a cup that's overflowing. The tantrum is the overflow. And when you lean in with more words, more eye contact, more emotional intensity, even positive emotional intensity, you're pouring more water into that cup. Their system doesn't need more input. It needs less. It needs to discharge the overwhelming energy. And then, only then, can connection happen. This is why the traditional get down on their level and validate approach often fails during tantrums. You're trying to connect with a brain that's temporarily unavailable for connection. Let me take you inside your child's nervous system during a tantrum so you can understand exactly what is happening. Something triggers them. They can't have the candy. Their tower falls. You said it's time to leave the park. Whatever it is, their brain perceives it as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a threat to their sense of control, their desires, their understanding of how the world should work. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, sounds the alarm. Danger. Threat. Emergency. Immediately, the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, heart rate spikes. Breathing becomes rapid and shallow. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline flood the bloodstream. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. This is a feature, not a bug. In a true emergency, you don't have time to think and reason. You need to react. Your child is now in what's called a fight or flight state. Except they re 3 years old and can't actually fight the grocery store or flee from the situation. So all that massive survival energy has nowhere to go. It comes out as a tantrum, screaming, thrashing, kicking, crying. This is not manipulation. This is not bad behavior. This is a nervous system doing exactly what it's designed to do when it perceives threat, and has no way to discharge the survival energy. Now here's the critical part most parents don't know. When you lean in with verbal soothing while they're in this state, your child's brain has to process more information. Your face, your words, your tone, your proximity, your emotional energy. But remember, their thinking brain is offline. They can't process information. So all of this just becomes more stimulation to a system that's already in overload. What the nervous system needs first is regulation, not connection. Once the nervous system downregulates, once the alarm turns off, then the prefrontal cortex can come back online. Then they can hear you. Then they can process empathy and validation. Before I give you the S.T.O.P method, you need to understand that tantrums have distinct phases. And your response needs to match the phase, or you'll make things worse. Phase 1. The trigger and escalation, 0 to 15 seconds. This is when something happens and your child begins to escalate. Their face changes, their body tenses, the whining starts, the volume increases. This is the only phase where verbal intervention might work. A quick distraction, a playful redirect, or acknowledging the frustration might prevent full meltdown. But if you miss this window, the tantrum moves to phase 2. Phase 2. The peak, 15 seconds to 3 minutes. This is full meltdown. Screaming, crying, thrashing. They might hit, throw things, or go limp. Their face is red. They're sweating. This is where most parents make their biggest mistake. They try to talk the child down during the peak. But the peak is not the time for words. The peak is when the nervous system is discharging all that survival energy. Trying to interrupt it is like trying to stop a sneeze halfway through. What your child needs during the peak is not connection. It's space and safety. They need to know they're not in danger while their system completes this discharge cycle. Phase 3. The recovery, 1 to 5 minutes after peak. The screaming stops or significantly decreases. The body starts to relax. Breathing slows. They might still be crying, but it's softer now. Less intense. This is the phase where parents often re-engage too quickly with questions or explanations, which can trigger a second wave. The nervous system is coming back online, but it's fragile. It needs calm, not conversation. Phase 4. The reconnection, 5 to 10 minutes after start. Now the prefrontal cortex is back. Your child might look tired, confused, even embarrassed. They're ready to reconnect. This is when validation, empathy, and discussion can actually be received and processed. Most parenting advice treats all 4 phases the same. It tells you to validate throughout. But what works in phase 4 is counterproductive in phase 2. Here it is. The method that will change how you handle tantrums forever. S.T.O.P stands for silence, turn, observe, presence. S is for silence. The moment you recognize your child is in full tantrum phase 2, the peak, stop talking. I mean it. Stop talking. No validation. No explanation. No, I know you're upset. No, it's okay. Nothing. This is the hardest part for most parents because it feels wrong. It feels cold. But remember what we learned. Your words are not landing. They're just adding stimulation. Silence does something powerful. It removes auditory input from an overwhelmed system. It creates space for their nervous system to do what it needs to do, discharge. Your silence is not punishment. It's not ignoring. It's creating the neurological space they need. T is for turn. This one seems counterintuitive, but it's crucial. Turn your body slightly away from your child. Not completely, you're not leaving them, but shift to a 45-degree angle so you're not directly facing them. Why? Direct face-to-face contact during peak dysregulation can feel confrontational to the primitive brain. Even if your expression is loving, the direct eye contact and full frontal proximity can escalate their nervous system. By turning slightly away, you signal, I'm here, you're safe, but I'm not going to overwhelm you with my energy. O is for observe. While you're silent and turn slightly away, you're not checked out. You're observing. Watch their body. Are they hitting? Ensure they can't hurt themselves or others, but don't restrain unless absolutely necessary. Restraint can escalate the fight response. Are they throwing things? Move dangerous objects quietly without commentary. You're being what experts call a calm, confident presence. You're the anchor while they're the storm. You're also watching for the shift from phase 2 to phase 3. The moment when the peak starts to decline, when the crying changes quality, when the body starts to soften. That shift is your cue that regulation is beginning. But don't rush in yet. P is for presence. Here's where the magic happens. Once you observe that they're moving from peak to recovery, the crying is softer, the body is less rigid, You shift your presence. You might move slightly closer. You might get down to their level now, but still you remain quiet. You're offering your regulated nervous system as a resource for their dysregulated one. Neuroscientists call this co-regulation. Your calm, quiet presence literally helps regulate their nervous system. Their brain starts to match the patterns of your brain. But this only works if you're actually calm. If you're anxious, frustrated, or scared, your nervous system is dysregulated too, and you can't co-regulate theirs. After another minute or two of quiet presence, you might offer a non-verbal connection. Open arms, not grabbing. A gentle hand on their back if they'll accept it. Or just sitting nearby, let them come to you. Let them signal when they're ready for touch or words. And then only then you can start phase 4, reconnection. That was really hard. Do you want to talk about it or do you want to hug first? Simple. No lectures. Just connection. The whole process? Usually 60 to 90 seconds from peak to recovery when done correctly. Compare that to the 15-minute tantrums that happen when you try to talk them through the peak. Mistake 1. Breaking the silence too soon. Your child's crying has decreased by half. They're no longer screaming. What happened? You engaged before their nervous system was fully ready. Even when they seem 80% calm, give it another 30 seconds of quiet presence. Mistake 2. Looking anxious or upset yourself. Remember, your child's primitive brain is scanning for safety. The solution. Before you implement S.T.O.P, take your own breath, soften your face, drop your shoulders. Remind yourself, this is a nervous system event, it will pass. That's not safe. You need to use your words. The lesson isn't landing. The solution, save the teaching for later, an hour later. That evening, the next day. When they're calm and their thinking brain is online, you can discuss what happened. Mistake 4. Rewarding the end of the tantrum stops. You just taught them. Tantrum equals eventually get what I want. The solution. The boundary that triggered the tantrum remains unchanged. No means no, tantrum or not. When you consistently use the S.T.O.P method over weeks and months, something remarkable happens. You're not just stopping tantrums. You're teaching your child's nervous system how to regulate. In the first 2 weeks, tantrums might actually seem worse before they get better. Why? Because you've changed the pattern. Your child is used to you engaging verbally, and now you're not. Their system escalates to try to get the old response back. This is temporary. Push through. By the end of week 2, you'll notice tantrums are starting to peak and decline faster. By 1 month, the duration of tantrums has noticeably decreased. What used to be 10-minute meltdowns are now 3 to 4 minutes. Your child is learning that the dysregulation will pass, and you'll still be there. You might also notice your child starting to use some self-regulation strategies on their own. They might go to a quiet corner when upset. They might take deep breaths without you prompting. By 3 months, tantrums are less frequent. The threshold for what triggers them has increased. Things that would have caused a meltdown now result in a moment of frustration that your child can move through. Why? Because repeated co-regulation, your calm presence during their dysregulation, has strengthened their own regulation capacity. By 6 months to a year, you've fundamentally changed your child's relationship with big emotions. They're redeveloping what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to experience uncomfortable emotions without completely falling apart. They still have moments of upset, of course. They're kids. But full tantrums are rare. They have the neural infrastructure to regulate most challenges. Here's what I need you to understand. Your child's tantrum is not a test of your love. It's not a sign you're failing. It's not something you need to fix with the perfect words. It's a nervous system reaching its capacity and needing to discharge. Your job is not to stop the discharge. Your job is to create the conditions for safe discharge and then facilitate regulation through your calm, quiet presence. The S.T.O.P method gives you a framework. Silence removes the auditory stimulation. Turn reduces the social pressure. Observe keeps them safe while the storm passes. Presence offers co-regulation as they come back online. 60 seconds of silence and space will accomplish what 15 minutes of talking and soothing cannot. And over time, you're not just stopping tantrums. You're building your child's capacity for emotional regulation. You're teaching their nervous system. I can feel big things. They will pass. I am safe. My parent is steady. The next time your child melts down, remember. Stop talking. Turn slightly away. Observe with calm confidence. Offer your regulated presence. Be the anchor in their storm. Not the person trying to talk them out of the waves, but the solid ground they can return to when the waves finally settle. That's what they need from you. That's what will change everything. Thank you for being here. Your child is lucky to have you.